Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you. I hope all is going well. This has been a wonderful week. So many people are accomplishing so much. Graduations are taking place. I remember graduating on May 6th with both my bachelor's and doctorate. Go UF, go Gators. Thankful for that. To God be the glory. And to all of you guys that are graduating for the first time, congratulations. To first generation students, congratulations. Congratulations to those that are, being promoted and celebrating big things. I think it's important that we celebrate. With that said, I'm going to go right into our announcements. First things first, the Grit and Equity Talks podcast will be featured on the X Factor EDU network hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph. You can also find it on Spotify. You can also find it on social media. So my social media outlets are Miss India White for Facebook. For LinkedIn, it's The India White. Twitter, it's Indy Speak and Teach. Instagram, it's Indy238. YouTube, it's India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. Check out my website at www.india-white.com for books, blogs, or to schedule me for a speaking or coaching event. And thank you to those that have been reaching out. Yes, I am available. So please reach out so you can get your slot for this year and next year. There are some upcoming events I'm excited about. We have FCTM in Orlando. We have NCTM, NCTE Joint Conference. I'm excited about that. I'll be seeing you guys at camp. Super excited about that. NCSM Conference, NCTM Conference in Atlanta and beyond. And so I'll keep you guys posted as, events come up. Feel free to, send me a message and ask questions if you're trying to plan or, your team, has questions. Also, please don't forget the Grassroots workshop on the Grassroots Workshops website on Grit. It's a little mini Grit course for you. Also, the Grit Academy, we are still taking students to tutoring students. I know some students we are tutoring are getting ready for the SAT and ACT, so send them our way. And then, for this podcast, if you're trying to close the achievement gap, but you're having classroom management issues or students just aren't motivated to do the work, then you can join me here on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast. Also, don't forget about the Grit calendars. They're available for you. And so with that said, I now want to jump into talking more about grit and talking about one of the core aspects of grit, which is resilience. But I want to talk about like an easy approach to resilience. So we're going to talk about resilience today. And of course, resilience is your ability, yes, to bounce back from, adverse situations, but also to stay out, to like continue to strive and to develop some type of system so that you don't falter, you don't, succumb to your circumstances. Resilience is not just a physical trait of I'm working out and I need resilience for that. Resilience can also be just emotional resilience, dealing with grief, dealing with, changes, in your environment, whatever. You're going to need resilience at times. So with that said, I do want to come on here and just from my heart share about some tips of remaining resilient. Stay focused on your goals. It's important that you understand where you're going in life so that when things happen, it doesn't shatter your world. And I'm going to say this is not always as easily, done as we say it, right? So it's easier said than done. This week we lost a wonderful, wonderful support, kind of a mentor to me, Cynthia Newell, who helped me get my Bill Gates scholarship, and I did give her honor. But she's gone on, and what a memory, what a person. And she was a 2-time graduate from Harvard, and just some of the things she taught me, even with getting that Gates scholarship. I remember I was a homeless student, and I remember I had scholarships galore at the time. At that time, that's when I was working from 2 to 4 in the morning on scholarships. And I remember I was really proud of 4 scholarships that I had filled out, for Sarasota County. I remember because those scholarships, if I would have gotten those, they would have totaled out to be $4,000. I remember this. I think one was like 500, one was like 250, one was 1,000, one was something else. I don't know. But I remember being super happy. I was going to get those in the mail and send them off and, wait for the results. However, Cynthia was introduced to me and she said, India, there's a Bill Gates scholarship for the Gates Millennium Foundation and you qualify. You have a 3.7 unweighted at least. You're in good standing. You have the GPA, everything. And I think you'd be a good fit. And I remembered being like, I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it because I had the other 4 that I needed to mail off and I had to go to work that night. And if I would have worked that night at Publix, there was no way I could have filled out the scholarship in time because we literally had 48 hours to fill it out, not even. And I remembered Cynthia saying, okay, this is the game plan. 1, you're not going to work. 2, those scholarships aren't being mailed. I was devastated. Now, I think looking back, I think a game plan could have been that we could have taken those scholarships and given them to like leaders at the homeless shelter. And we could have asked them, hey, but at the time, I don't even know if we had cell phones. I'm not sure. But anyway, at that time, it just, our minds weren't there. Our minds were so focused. We had to be resilient enough to get the scholarship. So I remembered I had to forfeit those 4 scholarships. I was not happy about that because, if you're doing a scholarship, there's essays, there's all kinds of documents and transcripts and stuff that you have to put together. And I remembered just feeling very angry, frustrated about that. But I listened to Cynthia, God bless her soul. And she said to me, she said, we're going to stay up and we're going to get this thing done before the deadline. I don't care how tired we get. We're working through the night. We're going to make this happen. Guys, we were so gritty and resilient that I remember I had on my Publix uniform because I was on my way to, I was cashier at the grocery store. So I was on my way to work, but I never went. So we stayed up till 4:30 to 11:30 working on that scholarship. And I remember I fell asleep like this, like in the chair. We were so tired. But the application was 25 pages. And we did everything you could think to do to get that thing filled out. And we did it. We got it in, I want to say 5 minutes before the deadline the next day. I remember Cynthia took me to a Peaches restaurant. It was so good. She loved that restaurant. And I just remembered the resilience. She taught me resilience that day, that no matter what, you need to get it done, get the deadline met. And God bless her soul because it paid off. And, that scholarship was wonderful because, Bill Gates and the foundation, they met your needs, whatever your needs were in college. So it really was a great help for us. And so I tell that story because it was sheer grit. It was resilience. We could not have gotten it done. If Cynthia wasn't organized and wasn't determined, I don't think I would have gotten the scholarship. I would have settled for my $4,000 instead of my unlimited checks that met all of my needs, when I was in college for 4 years. Anyway, so we had to stay focused on our goals. And so 2, believe in yourself. That's the second thing. It's one thing to say, yeah, I'm confident, I'm good. But then it's another thing to really follow through with the belief in who you are. Are you a powerful person? Do you get things done? Write out a list of maybe some traits that people say about you that are good people. And write out some things that you've done and some things, some passions about yourself that you're like, yeah, this is who I am. Okay. And these are some things that I've been able to accomplish. So I know I could do it again. And then 3, dismiss people's opinions. And when I say this, I mean the negative people, the people that just, there's always going to be that pessimist in the room. There's always going to be the person saying you can't do it. There's always going to be that. So just learn to dismiss their opinions. They are not God Almighty. Okay. They are not God Almighty, and they don't know what you're created to do. They don't know what you're capable of doing. So stop giving them that much room to live in your head, that much free rent, and that much just, it doesn't matter. People are going to love you. Some people are going to hate you. Oh, well, you have a job to do. You have a purpose. continue to move forward despite their opinions. 4, join others that are striving for success. That's why I love like doing like a 5K run or going to different events, social events. Speaking of that, I have a really cool event I'm going to on May 23rd, women in Tampa Bay area and surrounding regions. Please join us. It's going to be May 23rd that night. I would love to see you guys. And so I can send you more information on that, and I'll also be posting about it. And another thing, celebrate small steps. So I don't know why we are so hard on ourselves at times. Sometimes we don't want to celebrate till the whole thing is done, till we wrote the whole research paper, till we finished the entire book, until we, got everybody we needed on our team for our business. Like, I don't know, but sometimes you have to stop and pat yourself on the back. I remember one of the first times that as an adult, I physically pat myself on the back. I was forced to do it. And I don't know, it might have been when I was like an administrator or even maybe years beyond that, where I made a conscious effort to say, I'm going to pat myself on the back. Some of you need to pat yourself on the back. This is not being narcissistic and cocky. This is you acknowledging yourself and self-care. And like we just talked about the other episode, and really celebrating because you're getting ready to do some great things, or you're already in the midst of doing some things and you need to slow down, especially teachers. Pat yourself on the back. You got through this school year. You've helped so many kids. You need to celebrate that progress and know that next year you're going to do even better. So that's my love to you guys about easy resilience, some strategies. And if you're needing more resources about resilience, then you can go to my website, www.india-white.com. And you will find all types of things. There's different grit assessments that are free on the website that you can take as soon as you land there. I have plenty of blogs. There's even, like I said, there's the grit workshop that talks about resilience. And then there's also, different resources, whether it's the grit workbook for teachers, grit workbook for students, grit workbook for administrators, grit workbook for leaders, grit workbook for parents. So go check it out. Okay. You're not in this alone. So with that said, now I want to present my screen and I want to share with you guys some things that I was able to find regarding resilience just recently or last year around this time. And it says all of us data shows the effect of resilience in difficult times. Now life hits us all like a freight train. I know it hit our family personally. We lost 2 loved ones in the span of a week this past week. So I've been dealing with 3 different people that have passed on. And it's not always easy. And so, yes, you do get depression, you have isolation, hopelessness, discriminations, and of course, that's life. So how do you remain resilient in the midst of all this? So, they took this during the pandemic. But let's skip down. So it says, what is resilience? Resilience is our ability to cope with difficulties. Again, resilience is our ability to cope with difficulties. We all have a baseline resilience that is like a part of our personality. And we can build resilience by learning better ways to deal with challenges. And so in this study, they measured whether participants had low, average, or high baseline resilience based on how well they thought the 4 statements below described them. So these statements, and I want you guys to kind of practice. This is kind of like my grit assessment. I do have a section on my grit assessment that is catered directly to resilience. And I do offer strategies as well, just like this. So it says, I look for creative ways to alter difficult situations. Regardless of what happens to me, I believe I can control my reaction to it. Now, that's a powerful one. And that one, I think that can vary depending on the situation. We just had a situation with a young lady just that I know of. She saw her puppy get mauled by another dog. And the reaction was not, it was just a natural reaction. And she was screaming from the top of her lungs. And I think, for you pet lovers out there and those that own dogs, I mean, I don't know how you would feel if you have a puppy that's being mauled by 2 dogs in your neighborhood. It was a very tragic situation, very sad. but her reaction, resilience, she was doing her best to fight off the other dogs and to protect. It didn't work. Her dog, was killed. And she stuck with that trauma. And so now she has to work on that. And I'm not trying to share the story, to trigger anybody. Please forgive me if that's offensive at all. It was very shocking. It was very sad to hear of what happened. It was sad to see that go down. But in a situation like that, you can say, oh yeah, I can control we don't know. When you get a phone call that so-and-so passed away or so-and-so got in an accident or whatever, we don't know how we're going to react to some of those things. So I want to tell you that even though you're building resilience and, you're looking at the survey and or these questions and you're even taking my grit survey, which I think you should take that with your faculty or with your leadership team, whatever. Don't beat yourself up if sometimes you drop the ball and you're not as resilient as you thought you would be. I know for me, one area of focus for me is as I continue to deal with different levels of grief, that I learn how to not just cope, but how to respond better. Sometimes I'm calm, but then sometimes, you're thinking about what happened, you're thinking about what you're dealing with, and you don't always react the way you thought you would. Sometimes you act beneath your character or beneath what you're used to responding. And sometimes for us out there that we're used to having it all together, we're used to, being picture perfect in certain ways. Sometimes you have that ugly cry or that ugly moment, or you lash out or you react in a way that you're like, holy smokes, I didn't know that was in me. I didn't know that was a part of me. That's because it's life. So, whoever you are, I just want you to know as you're building on this journey of resilience, don't beat yourself up whenever you fall short of, what you thought you would do in the face of tragic situations, and in the face of life. So with that said, I do want to continue on what they were talking about. I can grow in positive ways by dealing with difficult situations. You've got to be really in a tough situation to think this way. Like you must be having trauma on the job or something. And then here, I actively look for ways to replace the losses I encounter in life. And I love this, and I tell the story about, when my brother passed and I was a homeless learner and I was just trying to figure life out. I remembered I would force myself every day to wake up and to be grateful for 10 things. I had to be grateful. I had to be grateful. I could not complain. And I made myself read the book, The Power of Thinking Positive. And I just refused to wallow in the depression that was surrounding me because of what I had just experienced. And so, I would encourage you to do the same. If you're trying to be resilient, find ways to remain grateful about what it is that you're facing. Find ways to think positively about, hey, I'm walking through this. I'm not going to, succumb to the situation. It's not going to take me out. I'm going to get through this. This is going to pass. Greater days are ahead kind of thing. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Also shows studying complex experiences. So it's talking about pandemic surveys. They said people had feelings of sadness and depression, their experiences of discrimination, their experiences during the pandemic. And so this study shows, long story short, that resilience is especially important in difficult times when typical resources are not available. But there's still more to learn about the discrimination, resilience, and mental health. This study measured resilience in one way. So very interesting. And I think that was probably more of an emotional type of resilience that they measured. So, hey, I don't know what you think about that. I thought it was pretty cool. We know resilience counts, but now we have a study behind it. So that's pretty cool. You can chime into that. That was from All of Us data. All of Us. All right. Now, I want to go into this chick, and I showed her last time. I really like her. Her name is Dr. Tracy. I really like her. She's talking about how to build a strong mind, and she goes into resilience.
Resilience is more than just bouncing back from hardships. It's about fortifying your mind and brain to withstand life stressors. And this applies to all of us, whether you're a business leader navigating through workplace challenges, an employee juggling work and personal life, or a parent managing the demands of family. Building resilience means that even when you fall, you can rise and stand back up stronger. It's not a
You have to believe that you can rise and stand up, and you have to believe in yourself. That goes back to that part that I was talking about, that personal belief, that inner confidence, that self-efficacy, that portion of it. This is why it's also tied together in my grit framework. All right, let's keep going.
achievement. It's an ongoing process that involves strengthening your mind and fortifying your brain. We strengthen our minds by improving how we think and regulate our emotions. This involves identifying and replacing negative self talk, developing a growth mindset,
Yes.
and enhancing our emotional intelligence. For business leaders, this could mean building the emotional flexibility to handle team dynamics or navigate high pressure situations.
So she's pretty cool. And she's given really great advice there about resilience. Um, I like how she talked about how it's an ongoing process to really just have that fortitude in your mind. So, as an educator, it's imperative, especially around times like this. You're doing math boot camps, you're doing SAT preps, ACT preps, college applications for those that are in college. They're doing their final essays and whatever, and the pressure's on, and not all students are going to respond the same. We really have to be mindful that one, as educators, we're not putting too much pressure on students, because we don't know what other stressors, like Dr. Tracy was saying, that they had in their lives, right? So they might be dealing with other tragic situations outside of that. So you don't want to be the cause of them kind of going over the cliff and giving up, or on school and things like that. So be mindful of that as you're getting these final exams and things, and be mindful of your environment. Do your kids feel warm in your classroom environment, or do they feel like it's like a penitentiary or something? Like do they feel welcomed? Do they feel like you believe in them? Are they convinced that you believe in them? Teachers, one thing I used to do, and it's not for the weak at heart. I used to give a survey to students, and it would reflect my learning or my teaching. And I would say, was I a good teacher to you? What did you like about my teaching? What did you not like about my teaching? What can I improve on? And I would get all types of responses. I got the teacher's pet that loves me, that could say nothing wrong. Just hoorah. I was like the best. And then I got the honest truth from students that would sometimes just tell me off. Sometimes they use curse words. And you just have to have tough skin. But the thing I loved about it was the truth. And I would make sure students would give it to me anonymously. I would tell them to change their handwriting. I would tell them to, I don't want to know who gave me what. And I would tell them, nobody's getting in trouble because you told me the truth. I need to know the truth. I need to know. And I would use those surveys, and I would give it around this time. And then I would, tell the students afterwards, hey, I read your surveys. Thank you for your honest truth. Some of you said this, some of you said that. And I just want to say thank you. I'm working on it. I'm going to improve. I'm not perfect. Please forgive me for the places I've erred, but just know I'm going to take that in and do my homework as an educator. And that takes resilience to be able to also, bounce back with a plan to say, I'm going to keep moving forward despite the mistakes I've made and the areas I've fallen short. So I would encourage you to do that too. If you've not done like a self-reflection survey from your students, that's great, because you can think you're fabulous, but honestly, is it really about what you think, or is it about what they think? They've been with you all year, they've been with you all term, all semester, whatever. So if you've not won them over, it's just a reality check. It really is a reality check that work needs to be done. Improvement, there's improvement, right? But you're gonna have to be resilient to see the results. So let's keep going. I found this other video I thought was pretty cool. How can teachers build resilience in students from Childhood Education Zone? There's so many different resources out here. So let's listen.
Let's talk about creating a supportive learning environment. This is the foundation for fostering resilience. Make your classroom a place where students feel respected, valued, and safe. You can do this by having morning meetings to check in with students and discuss important issues.
Which, speaking of morning meetings, you can do like my grit circle, where you gather all of students and then you have them reflect on their grit levels and how they feel they are doing. And they have to compliment each other. They have to compliment themselves. And it's just this really positive vibe that you have going on. It's a grit circle. It's like a little grit game that I have for you. If you're interested in that, just send me an email or DM me or look on the website and we can get it for you. All right. So like they said, have a morning meeting, build them up. Let's keep going.
Encourage open communication and active listening, which helps students feel heard and valued. Promote collaboration and teamwork through group projects and activities to foster a sense of community and belonging. Teaching social and emotional learning skills is also crucial. SEL helps students persevere, overcome obstacles, and express their emotions properly. This can be incorporated into your daily lessons by teaching students how to manage their emotions, set goals, and show empathy to others. Opportunities for independence, such as allowing them to take ownership of their learning through choices in assignments and projects. Celebrating both small and large accomplishments can also boost their confidence. Teaching emotional awareness is important as well. Help students identify and describe their emotions, which aids in self-regulation.
I like that. I'll stop there for copyright purposes. But I thought that was pretty neat that she was talking about we have the power to encourage students and to build their confidence. Teachers, we have way more power than we believe it, and I want to encourage you guys to tap into that power and to do your best, to pay it forward by building up your students, in these last few weeks of school. Because right now they're going to need you more than ever. District exams, state exams, nationals, SAT, ACT, PERT, whatever exams, whatever other exams they have coming their way, G.R.I.T, whatever. So they're going to need you. So I want to encourage you to just be the awesome person that you are and to continue to build grit and build the resilience in a way that's just good for kids and easy. Remember, stay focused on your goals. Continue to believe in yourself, believe in your students. Dismiss the opinions. Join others, join other faculty members, join other administrators, join others, and then celebrate small steps. And there you have it. That would be the resilience that you need, to help get your students through. So, with that said, guys, thank you so much again for joining me on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White. It's been a pleasure to be with you today. Hoping you guys have a fabulous week and, push out these grit weeks during these last 3 weeks. Do some grit boot camps, growth mindset Monday, resilience Tuesday, self-efficacy Wednesday, time management Thursday. Push them out. If you need resources, let me know. I've got it for you. And so with that said, again, the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on the X Factor EU network, hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph, and you can find this on Spotify. You can also find it on my main social media channels. And please like and share, subscribe. It helps me. It helps you. Thank you so much in advance. Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. My website, I've already said it during the show, is www.india-white.com. You can go there for books, blogs, grit resources, resilience resources, and to schedule me for your next speaking or coaching event. Don't forget to stop by and say hello at these various events: FCTM in Florida, NCTM and CTE in Chicago, Campton, July, that's in Texas, and then Atlanta will be at the NCTM and the NCSM conferences. If you can't make those, but you still want some grit, then check out the Grassroots Workshop. It's online, the Grit Mini Workshop. You can check it out there. And then if you have anyone that needs tutoring, please send them our way at the Grit Academy. We would be honored to help you guys. So thank you guys so much for your love and your support, and for just being a part of the team, being a part of the Grit Tribe, part of the Grit Nation. I'm so happy and honored. And so with that said, I'm proud of all of you. Continue to do a great job. Know that you matter, you count, you rock. Stay awesome and stay gritty. Till next time, see ya.